everyone. As promised, I am here and I will be joined by Rosie, the Managing Director of Premier TEFL, very, very soon. So we're just waiting on Rosie to join us. But in the meanwhile, if you want to comment your questions in the comment section below, we will try our best to get around to them. And I have been asking for questions from our Instagram followers and our Facebook followers as well throughout the morning. So we'll get all those answered as well. So now we're still waiting on Rosie. Oh, Rosie might be joining us very soon. While we're waiting, the reason why we're waiting on Rosie is because she is busy organising and working with the fully organised teaching practicum we have. You can get the Observed Teaching Practicum in the 310 hour, hint, hint, which was one of our newest additions we launched our rebrand on our new course products. Or if you are already TEFL certified, you can enroll on the 35 hour certified teaching practicum. So those are just two options there for you. Here we go. Rosie's about to join us, everyone. Waiting patiently for the woman of the hour. Hi, Rosie. Welcome to our little live discussion. How are you?
Hi, Megan. Thanks so much. I'm actually delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We are delighted to have you. It's been a tough 2 days trying to track you down and drag you away from working on the fully organised teaching practice, but I got there in the end. If I'm persistent, if anything. And how have you been? How's your day been so far?
Good. We have, as you say, been working on the new fully organised teaching practicum. We're the only online TEFL provider at level 5 standard that are doing this for our graduates, as you know well. So yeah, if you are looking for teaching practicum, whether it's observed or certified, we are the go-to people for that now. And it's been fantastic to make a partnership for that, because we know what it takes to get your teaching practice down and get it done on your CV. So it's wonderful to be able to organise that, stress-free, fully organised. But I'm delighted to be here today to talk about the news that has recently come out of China, and probably cast a bit of light onto it for people. I believe you're telling me you're inundated with people who are inquiring about it, Megan.
Absolutely. I spent the past 2 days, one, chasing yourself down because of a different factor. I've had so many people, they've been ringing me, they've been DMing me on Instagram, I've been getting Facebook messages. They're all panicking and they're all worried and confused and a bit scared about what exactly is happening in China. And I suppose they're afraid that, you know, their TEFL certifications might be a bit redundant when they're completed. They're afraid that they won't be able to get a job. So I said, you know what, let's nip in the bud. Let's go to the woman herself, you know, the Managing Director of Premier TEFL, the woman in the know. So Rosie, let's get straight into it. Can you tell us some of the facts, you know, the facts that we know about China's ban on private ESL tutoring?
For sure, and I get that. I can get that people would be worried about that, because even the word ban, and coming from a superpower like China, it can be very worrying for people. So facts in a nutshell, okay? And this news has been coming out of China. It started in June, and then it became sort of more digested in July, and now we're sort of seeing the impacts of it at this point. Essentially, the new policy in China is a bid to deduplicate work. So as we know, in China and a lot of Southeast Asian countries, the academic focus is massive for children. And so parents will, of course, send their kids to school, but then on top of that, they will do private tutoring in the mornings and evenings for both academic subjects and then also art subjects like music and things like that. And key core subjects like English and math, they will always be privately tutored. And parents in China spend an awful lot of money on those lessons. Now, in the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, there has been an enormous opportunity for people to teach English online during school closures. And that has been both a great source of job opportunities for our graduates and for all TEFL graduates around the world, but also it's been a lifeline for a lot of students. so that they can keep up with their studies, and the desire to learn English. So the policy from China is essentially a bid to deduplicate that workload, so that if you are studying a curriculum-based topic that is already taught in your standard school, then the ban is that you're not supposed to have lessons in that same topic outside of school. So English, maths, geography, whatever is taught, history, the ban is on private tutoring for those same core subjects outside of school. Now, it impacts the ESL industry, but it also impacts a bunch of other industries too. And it is quite an immediate ban. So any of the sale of lessons is prohibited from now on. So if you, for example, Megan, if you were a Chinese student and your parent had bought you 500 lessons in advance, you'll still be able to fulfill that. That contract can be honored and you'll be able to do your 500 lessons. But if your neighbor wanted to buy a fresh set of lessons from a private tutoring company, that wouldn't be possible. So it's not as if jobs are going to disappear overnight. Some will, yes. Some companies who maybe didn't have a long pipeline of customers will not be able to financially stay open and they will close. Other companies, anecdotally, we're hearing about Magic Years, for example. They're still recruiting for teachers to fulfill the contracts that are already in place of their pipeline of English students. So in a nutshell, those are the facts. The ban is quite immediate on the sale of new lessons to anyone who wants to learn English from mainland China. Okay, it's important to know it's mainland China. But conditions will still remain the same for anybody who's possibly up to 6 months. If you're working with a company who has a long pipeline of pre-sold lessons, your job may be secure for the next 6 months, but it's worrying for people. It's worrying for people who cannot know from 1 week to the next whether their lessons will still be running.
And for those TEFL teachers that are panicking right now from some of the messages I got, what would be your advice to them? You know, because I suppose when you hear such bad news like that, you do panic and you do have a sense of, well, is there any point in continuing with this, or, you know, what would be your advice?
I think the first thing is definitely not to panic, because even though school-aged Chinese young learners are a massive part of a massive portion of the industry, they're not every type of learner. You know, there is a large portion of other types of English learners out there. So if you're typically a general English teacher who has been teaching young learners from China, then maybe it's your opportunity to look outside of that and to either specialize. It could be, for example, in IELTS coaching, exam coaching. Maybe you might try your hand at business English. And there are lots of professional development TEFL courses out there where you can upskill from, say, 30 to 60 hours, get yourself a professional development certificate, and then also teach students from other nationalities, other backgrounds. That's the first thing. Second thing is, the other reason I wouldn't panic is because a lot of people may drop out of the TEFL industry. So it's quite a fluid industry where people will teach for maybe 6 months to 5 years. Other people then find a passion for it and it does become their solo career. But I think that what this might do is also encourage people to explore other opportunities that they want. They might go into tutoring something else. So I think there will be a refresh of the job market for sure. People who are teaching Chinese kids right now will be seeking other employment. So we will see a surge of job seekers coming into the market who have teaching experience. But then some of those people will move out into other industries. It's not all doom and gloom, Megan. It really isn't, you know.
That's great to hear. That's actually reassuring for a lot of those teachers that contacted me, that there is other options out there, and that's not something I even considered, that people might actually be leaving the industry now. You know, they might find this is a good time to change career, whereas for other people getting into TEFL, this is their time to start a new career, to start something new. So speaking of those,
exactly.
So speaking of those people that contacted me, I do have a couple of questions for you. So we can go through those questions, and if anybody watching also has some questions, just pop them in the comments and we will address those too if we haven't done it yet. So Rosie, Nar on Instagram. Nar asked us, does this China ban mean they're banning the online tutors or even the teachers who want to teach full-time in China?
Okay, so primarily this is aimed at the online tutoring industry right now, okay? We have anecdotal evidence that some people who are in China may not have their contracts renewed, but it's more about the online tutoring industry right now. So for that person, if they're thinking about traveling to China, there's still a lot of job opportunities advertised. You can see them on our own recruitment website, gocambio.com, or even on TEFL.com, Dave's ESL Cafe. There's a ton of opportunities advertised right now. It's mostly aimed at the online private tutoring companies.
Perfect. Nar, I hope that answers your question. I have another question from Instagram. This one is from Stacey. Stacey just lost their job teaching English online, and what do you suggest she does next? I know you answered it a little bit previously, but if you just want to answer Stacey's question directly.
Of course. Okay, so if her company has closed or her students haven't bought any more lessons, okay, first thing, just to recap, I'd look at what does Stacey have in her own personal kit bag, okay? What was her career before she got into TEFL? Maybe she has a degree in marketing, or she has a degree in geography or something like that. She can look at what she has already as another skill that's untapped. She could become a niche freelance teacher, and she could pick out specific English lessons to teach that are based on her previous career or work experience. She could do an upskill course to move into perhaps teaching business English exams, or even teaching young learners from another country. There are just so many online platforms out there. For example, Korean, Japanese, and Hong Kong, those three countries, they all have their own platforms, so they're not affected by this. This is only mainland China. I have a few written down here actually. Nil English, Cambly Kids, most people will know that one. There's Engu, there's StarKid, Fluently, Open English. Some of these are Asian owned, and some of them are worldwide brands that everyone will know. So Stacey can look at other online platforms. She can upskill. She can then register on websites like Preply and Preply. Sorry, a lot of people say Preply. And she can make her own profile, and then she can list her special subjects. This is actually how people will be able to earn more than the average English teacher, is to specialize, be an expert in one area. Think about whether you could teach accent reduction and neutralization. Think about the top end people. You know, look at the industries where it maybe law, and for example, top end engineering, banking, all that kind of stuff, where people really need to get the final finishing touches to their English skills. That's the people who are willing to pay top dollar. The general English market is usually where you're the lowest paid, but there's also the most learners, you know. So it's a good opportunity for teachers to move up, give themselves a promotion in their TEFL career, move away from teaching young learners at that level and go get a more specialized job.
So I suppose looking at specialist courses, thinking about going freelance or independent is probably the best way to earn a bit more money and open a new opportunity for yourself, especially after losing your job. Now see it as an opportunity rather than something negative.
Absolutely. And there's quite a lot of advice areas out there and groups and things. Like Teacher Kid Canada has a wonderful group on Facebook about being high paid and successful. James Liu also has a strategy for developing your niche. So there's a lot of free resources out there online that you can tap into to learn how to do this.
And you know what, Rosie, you just reminded me as well there. I suppose when she lost her job, maybe she's been teaching for quite a long time with a company, and she might need some practice interviewing again, or maybe like it can be quite scary to go from being secure in your job to going back to interviewing. It's terrifying. So I suppose could you tell us briefly a bit about one of our new offerings with the Expert Mat, the job interview coaching? Is this something we could recommend for someone like Stacey who lost their job and is kind of a bit hesitant and a bit scared, a bit anxious to start interviewing again.
Absolutely. And we know that the job market is more competitive right now simply based on this ban coming out of China. There is essentially, you know, a large cohort of teachers who are now unsure about their longevity of their job, and so they're immediately looking at other platforms to apply for. And so for either newly qualified people who are just coming out, people who are thinking about getting into the TEFL industry, or people who have lost their current contract, we have a special job coach called Matt who will do the refining, the skills that you need to be able to apply for the jobs and be successful. So we all know from looking online that to apply to work for a company as an online English teacher, the forms are very simple, they're quite straightforward, they're fact-based, and then they ask you a lot of times for a mini demo lesson to be uploaded, and there is just, it's the amount of people applying for those positions is huge. And so being able to stand out from the crowd, make yourself unique, it's tricky. And it's relentless then applying for these positions. So that's why we've worked with Matt then to create this 2.5-hour coaching session on how to apply and be successful to get the jobs that you want, and just, you know, refine that all down. So he talks about interview techniques, he talks about your cover letter and your resume, and he really helps people to be successful. Put your best foot forward. You've only got one chance to make a good impression first. So this is the opportunity. And actually Matt is live later on tonight, if I'm not wrong. He's going to be doing a taster. So that's something you've organised. What time is that, Meg?
Yeah, so Matt is actually, yeah, he is indeed live at 6 p.m. UK time today as well. And he's doing an introductory webinar into what he offers and give people a taste of what he does. So in the webinar tonight, he will cover a bit more about China's ban on private ESL tutoring, because Matt is also a TEFL teacher. He's in the same shoes as people are now, and you know, he has all the experience. And he'll also be going through your demo video, you know, your introductory video, the key things you need to address, how to come across as professional, and what to do and not do, because as you know, being who he is and the experience he has and the people he's worked with, he knows exactly what you need to avoid, because he's seen many people do it before, and you're not going to be one of those people that makes those mistakes. So that is at 6 p.m. UK time tonight, right here on Facebook Live as well. People just need to come along, just click to join it, and yeah, just it. And it's bite-sized, so 15 to 20 minutes. You know, not much time commitment. You can throw it on in the background while you're cooking your dinner, while you're having some lunch, whatever way you work your day, whatever time of day you wake up, you can just have it on the background while you're getting ready. And I just have another question here, Rosie, from Mark. Mark sent us this question on Facebook. Mark just finished his TEFL course when the ban was announced, and he's worried that he won't be able to get a job.
Yeah, okay. So for Mark, first of all, I mean, if I was talking to Mark, I'd ask him about his background and has he any bit of teaching experience. This is where people are going to get caught, Megan, that they have their TEFL course and then they go to apply for the online positions and they're fighting against people who have already got TEFL experience. And then also in the application process, it will ask you, do you have any previous teaching experience? And if you say no, at this point in time, with how competitive the industry is, that's where you're going to get caught and you might not make the grade to get to interview. So we have worked now with a partner to develop for the last number of months 2 different types of teaching practicum that people can do. The brilliant thing is that it's all online. So no matter where you are in the world, you can do this with Premier TEFL. You also don't need to have had our previous TEFL certificate. So if you've got a TEFL certificate from another reputable provider and you want help to get organized teaching practicum online, you can still come to us for that. And that's the great thing about it. So the 2 options that we have, and this is what will be helpful for Mark. So I want Mark to have a look into this. He can do 35 hours of certified teaching practice recognition with us. And Mark would be teaching real ESL learners online. And the way that it works is it's broken down into a program of 8 weeks, and you teach online for about 4 hours per week. It's very flexible, and you work one-on-one with a real ESL learner. It's quite conversational, and you can do it from your own laptop from the comfort of home. And then with our partner, At the end of that, successfully complete your teaching practicum, you will then get a certificate jointly branded from us and from the school, and you'll be able to upload, you'll be able to click yes to teaching practicum, and then you'll be able to upload a certificate to prove that you have had over 30 hours of certified teaching practicum. And that will help Mark to really get through the online application and get into the interview phase. Plus, when you get your own real students for the first time, you know, you'll know what you're doing. At the end of the day, learning online is wonderful. And this has been kind of an evolution over the last 15, nearly 20 years, being able to learn things online. But it's only really when you get into the classroom, virtual or bricks and mortar, and you start to actually implement all of the skills that you've learned, that's when it comes alive. You know, that's when you're really, truly standing as a teacher.
And that 35 hour certified teaching practicum, that's such a huge confidence booster for, you know, if you're learning online, you know, it's an entirely self-paced TEFL course, but you don't have that human interaction element while you're studying that material. So having that teaching practice afterwards to tie all that together is just, it's fantastic. You know, you build the confidence to teach online firstly, and, you know, gather all your learning together and those techniques. And then on top of that, you're building your confidence with these real people. You know, once you've finished that, you walk into your TEFL job, your high-paying TEFL job with your teaching experience and your TEFL cert. I see we have a comment here from Trisky. Trisky has been watching from the beginning. I saw their comment come in earlier. She said Matt is marked in her calendar already now. So Trisky, I'll be seeing you later on with Matt. And she also commented, she couldn't wait to hear your suggestions for the newbies who have completed the level 5 and are ready to teach. So Rosie, right, that actually is a good, that sparks a thought. For people who have the 120 or considering the 120 hour versus a level 5 TEFL course, is one of them looked upon more favourably than the other between the 120 and the level 5?
Well, look, there's no doubt about it, Megan. The level 5 is a higher level teaching qualification. It's black and white, you know. It's a CELTA equivalent, but taught online. The 120-hour course has forever and a day been the international standard, okay? And you will still always stand a chance of getting hired with the 120-hour course, but it's a holistic thing, you know. Schools are looking for native or fluent English speakers. They may prefer people who have a passport from a native English speaking country. They're looking then to see what level of education you have, whether you have a degree, a master's, and then they're looking at the TEFL piece. So it's a holistic thing. It's not just one thing or the other. But what we are seeing is that most of our learners that are enrolling with us to do a TEFL course are choosing the level 5 now, like Trisky, to give yourself the chance to get access to better, higher paying jobs. It shows a bigger commitment. It also gives you a deeper learning of this industry, because there's very few courses you can do in the world, let's think about it, that you can pay from maybe $200 to $500 or $200 to $800 and get a whole new career out of it. It's nearly unheard of in any other industry in the world. But teaching English as a foreign language, particularly for native English speakers, this course gives you nearly the back of the information. You know how to speak English perfectly, how to write it. You may not know why, and that's why you're going through all the methodology of why things are built the way they are, nuts and bolts of the English language, and then how to teach it with no translation. Those are the core elements of this. The level 5 for sure will become the new, it was the gold standard, it will become the new regular standard in another maybe year's time or so. So I do recommend that people invest in that course. It's not that much extra to get that qualification, but it's going to stand much better for job applications in the future. And then I see Trisky said that they did the 10-hour methodology with Michelle. What a great course. That is super. And so that really brings your theory to life when you're in that virtual studio and you're there with other peer learners and you're getting a chance to prepare lessons and deliver them and get feedback. And so Trisky, that is peer-to-peer teaching practice, and so it may be accepted by some employers, but I think I would still recommend for you to look at our 35-hour teaching practicum certificate so that you can then showcase more real teaching practice, unless you're already teaching at the minute. This is really for people who are at the beginning and they don't have teaching practice, or if they can't prove that they've had teaching practice, this is also a great certificate to get.
Perfect. And Rosie, I know you're a very busy woman and people are going to try drag you away very soon from me. So just as a closing question, if people are watching this, their concerns have been flattened, they're much more comfortable, but now they're actually starting their TEFL journey, how can they get TEFL certified? Where do they start?
Okay, good question. We have a range of TEFL courses, as we all know, and there are many good companies out there that all offer TEFL courses, and it can be overwhelming for people. So what we have done on our brand new website is built a tool. Okay, when you come to the homepage, come to premiertefl.com, right at the very top, it will ask you a little bit about yourself. 3 questions. It will ask you about your professional background, what stage you're at in your career. It will ask you whether you want to teach English online or abroad, and it will also ask about how much teaching experience you have. If you can answer those 3 simple questions, we will give you 3 recommendations for TEFL course, and you can see which one suits your budget and what one suits the amount of time that you're able to dedicate to getting qualified in this area. I did also forget to mention, Megan, I was saying about the 2 different types of teaching practicum that we have. There is an extra special element in our 310-hour hybrid level 5, and that's where the practicum included in that is actually observed for 6 hours too. So for 2 hours at the beginning of your teaching, 2 hours in the middle over the 8-week period, and then 2 hours at the end, a qualified instructor will observe your lessons and give you feedback so that you're improving all the way along. You know, it's a little bit more intensive than just doing your clocking up the hours of teaching practicum to get the certificate. You will absolutely progress over that time naturally anyway, but in the 310-hour, you'll have your own dedicated personal coach who will be with you during 6 of those lessons.
And if I were to enroll on that 310-hour, do I add it to the basket, obviously, do I pay all up front, or is there another option I could take? Because if, you know, maybe I wanted to pay maybe a smaller amount.
For sure, we actually do have a 50% deposit system for the 310-hour. So you can go ahead, you can sign up, get started, get access to all of the materials and book all of your classes and pay a 50% deposit today. And then one of our friendly advisors will contact you in 30 days and you'll make your balance payment then. So there is a way to split it in 2 and split your payments in 2 halves.
That's fantastic. Rosie, thank you so much for joining me today and squeezing me into your busy schedule. If anybody has any more questions about the China ban on private ESL tutoring, we do have a brand new blog up on the website. Just head to the website and go to the blog section. You can find it there. You'll also find lots of other stories from online TEFL teachers, freelancers, people working for companies, and interns. We are currently recruiting for the internship in South Korea. If the ban in China has put maybe a stall on your online teaching plans, why not spend a year in South Korea? 12 months teaching, you know, your accommodations included, there's on-the-ground support. We also have a recorded webinar of that up on YouTube and on our Facebook page as well if you want to watch it back and see if that is something for you. So Rosie, thank you so much again for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope the teaching practicum is an absolute success, and I might even see you this evening for Matt's webinar at 6 p.m.
Thanks, Megan. Who could say no to you? You're a very persuasive lady. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Rosie. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.